This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. I still remember my early 30s. Went for a physical. The doctor did the blood work. He came back and he said, "Mike, you have high cholesterol, the bad kind. I recommend that you go on statins immediately." Now, this is kind of a shock because I don't know what the hell a statin is at the time, and I'm in my early 30s. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go the other direction. And I asked him, I said, what if I go the health route? Lose a little weight, stay in shape, all that kind of fun stuff. He's like, oh, no, you got to take the statins. You got to take the statins. I went back. I did a little bit of reading. I decided not to take the statins. There were definitely side effects, definitely potential problems. Frankly, the biggest issue that I didn't like was the sexual performance issue. I was like, I really don't want to take these damn drugs if this is going to happen to me. I decided against it. Now, a lot of time has passed. And of course, I'm just one example. That's not a population to make much of a judgment on. The Mike Covel example for not taking statins. Not exactly enough research data there to prove anything. Mike Covel was afraid that he might suffer on his performance with the ladies, so he rejected statins in favor of heart disease. Is that the headline I'm seeing now in the papers? Well, today I caught the headline, Cholesterol Con. Doctors say there's no evidence that high levels of bad cholesterol causes heart disease. 17 physicians from across the world appear to have dispelled the theory that there are links between having high LDL-C levels, known as bad cholesterol, and fatty deposits that clog arteries. Now that's a big headline. Millions upon millions of Americans and others around the world have been gacked up on statins for decades now. Big Pharma has gotten rich. So if you take statins, your retirement account has gotten more wealthy. But what the hell has happened to you? Has this been one big placebo con job? It appears so. Now, to be specific, their findings, published in the Expert Review of Clinical Pharmacology, suggest that drugs won't treat heart disease. As they say, high bad cholesterol levels don't necessarily lead to heart disease. Now, look, this has been a clash for a long time. Experts have argued for both for and against statins and their effect. Now, what everyone does seem to agree on is that statins are a lifesaver for people who have already had a heart attack. But this recent research, the 1.3 million patients, their data that backs this research indicates it could be of no use as a preventative measure, like zero. The scientists in this study from the UK, US, Ireland, Italy, Sweden, France, and Japan together write, quote, "We suggest clinicians should abandon the use of statins and PCSK-9 inhibitors," end quote. One of the main cardiologists in the study, quote, "Having reviewed the totality of the evidence, in my view, the only people that should be offered statins are those with established heart disease risk. For everyone else, the tens of millions taking the drug worldwide who don't fall into these categories, they should know statins won't help them live one day longer." End quote. One day longer. What a con job. Do you really want me to believe that the big pharma companies had our best interest involved for all of these decades? Of course not. It was all about making the buck, selling you a narrative to scare the you-know-what out of you. But this is how it goes across our modern life right now. People have lost touch with basic best practices. Basic best practice? Like you mean eating right? not being a fat slob, exercising, not drinking till you're comatose every night. If you do all of those things, it doesn't make a difference what pill they give you. You're still going to die early. This all comes down to personal responsibility. Are you going to trust yourself or are you going to trust the pill? As I look up into the sky right now, I think to myself, how do investors do it? Are they going to trust themselves or are they going to trust the system, the machine, the bigger voice out there, the so-called trustworthy voice? I mean, for years, of course, everyone trusted the doctors. The doctors said, take the statins. Take the statins. You'll be healthier. You'll live longer. It will stop your heart disease. Of course, in hindsight, it looks like all it's done now is stop erections, which I got to tell you, just cracks me up. That's a whole different conversation. The conversation that I really don't have on this podcast, where I would love to offer the insights of someone who has traveled the world, seen behind the scenes, to talk about the male-female dynamic, all of the good, bad, and ugly insights that I've accumulated. More good than bad or ugly, but that's a whole different subject. I can't really go there right now. But I do see a connection for how people trust. They trust the system of doctors and big pharma. That doctor that recommended that I take statins, was he getting paid? What was he getting paid? Good questions. I don't know the answers, but I'm sure, or at least I'm guessing, it wasn't only due to the goodness of his kind heart. There were surely some economics involved. I should also share, and maybe this influenced me to some degree, my grandmother made it to 100 years of age. She probably would have lived a lot longer, but she just got tired and wanted to move on. Was in a pretty good state of mind, but all of her friends had passed, so I think she just wanted to move on. Her mom, my great-grandmother, got to 101. Both of them from the South, both of them with high cholesterol. But I would have to say, reaching the age of 100 means you might have passed the test for not needing the statins. And guess what? I'm pretty sure they had my grandmother on the damn statins, and she did not need them. Now look, I'm not attempting to be any kind of a medical professional here, but I can read research. And the top cardiologists around the world are saying statins as a preventative measure are BS. Now before that, of course, many top doctors, like I was just making the connection to Wall Street, we're saying, do this, trust us. And let me connect that to a fun example on Wall Street. Now, we all know this year, 2018, something like $400 billion has been wiped off the value of major cryptocurrencies since January. That's a boatload of money, ladies and gentlemen. And this particular guy that I caught in a CNN Money article, Sean Russell, was not a big stock market guy, did not play it apparently, but he put $120,000 into Bitcoin November of 2017. It went to $500,000 in 1 month. Of course, he's thinking holidays all the time. My mortgage paid off. I mean, this is exciting stuff, right? But it did not exactly last for this guy. Complete crash. As he says, it was devastating, quite traumatic. I've seen the stories on the news of billionaires going bankrupt, and you think, how can that be? How on earth did you lose that amount of money? And yet, here I am in that position. This guy said he attempted to mitigate his losses by shifting money from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash and other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum. That did not work. His paper losses on his initial $120,000, he's down 96%. Now here's where it starts to remind me of the statin promoters. Because before this guy invested, this guy Russell, he spent years tracking Bitcoin and studying the blockchain, studying the technology. He knew what was underpinning the digital currencies. He said the learning process was like solving the plot of a murder mystery. But what was he solving? What was he learning? He was just listening to all of the propaganda voices telling him that crypto was going to go to the moon. And yes, the data showed that crypto was going to the moon until the data showed it wasn't. So all of his studying, all of his checking into the research, learning about the murder mystery. What the hell is he talking about? There was no murder mystery. Data up, data down. That's the story. You don't have to massage it. You don't have to put icing on top of the cupcake. Data up, data down. Believe the data. If you don't believe the data, what happens? Well, you lose 96%. And that's what's so interesting about the statin data. Now, you have to say with the statin data, why are we just learning this? Well, of course, we're just learning it because somebody's been making a shitload of money. And when you're making a shitload of money, you don't want the truth to come out. So it was harder for the average person to find out from the average doctor that the average statin was average bullshit. Where were you supposed to turn? The data was not given to us so easily. But now the data is there, and everyone should adjust accordingly. Or you can continue. I'm not trying to stop you. Again, I'm not a medical professional. You should check with your doctor and not listen to Mike Covel for statin advice, but you should listen to the data. You should listen to the research. And the research says, unless you have some major health risk in terms of heart attacks or have had a heart attack, the statins are useless. That's what the data says. Now, how will you adjust to the new data? Will you listen? Will you make a change in your life? Or will you just stick with the old way? Now think about our guy here with Bitcoin. He went from 120,000 to 500,000 and then basically lost it all. He didn't like the new data. He did not want to believe the new data. He wanted to ignore the new data. So much so, he wanted to believe in this damn silly narrative of figuring out the murder mystery because he wanted to prove how smart he was. By proving how smart he was, his ego could feel so nice. He could tell people, I'm smart. Now, he's down 96%. He looks like a dumbass. Now, let's do a little quick side note there. I've made my share of mistakes. I've made my share of dumbass mistakes. But writing an asset down 96% because you're trying to prove you're smart, that's a little bit beyond dumbass. That's arrogant. Arrogant as hell. It doesn't change. I mean, the story of data doesn't change. Look at trend following trading. You can go find a study from AQR with trend following performance going back 100 years. You can find a study from CFM out of Paris going back 200 years. You can find a study from ISAM out of New York going back 800 years. That's 100, 200, and 800 years of data showing trend following performance. And when you look at that performance, the data tells you something interesting. But if you don't look at the data, what are you left with? Wall Street Journal headlines? Yahoo Finance headlines? CNBC barking at you? Bloomberg's 26-year-old journalist of the moment who just graduated from Yale with a literary degree telling you how to invest all of your fucking money? Is that really where you are? Oh yes, actually, that's where a lot of people are. This Bitcoin article with this guy Russell and losing all of his money? One quick final fun comment. I shared it with Jerry Parker, one of the original turtles profiled in my book, The Turtle Trader, a fantastically successful trend following trader. And Jerry quoted back to me the part of the article where the guy said that his learning process was like solving the plot of a murder mystery. I have to admit, Jerry is becoming one of these guys that really has great Wall Street one-liners. Now, of course, he learned from some brilliant men, But I have to give props where props are due. Jerry has just really started to nail the prescient wisdom that is ever so timeless with the greats. And after he quoted back to me, again, this guy saying that the learning process was like solving the plot of a murder mystery, Jerry added, he should have studied trend following instead. Now, for those that don't get it, they might think that Jerry was just trying to sell something, selling trend following. No. He's pointing out that the notion that you could figure out the fundamentals of Bitcoin and use those to make your buy and sell decisions was dead, was a bad strategy. And all other things being equal, the opportunity cost that this poor guy missed, he could have very easily had a basic trend following approach, moving average, whatever, and saved himself all of this heartache. Sure, he could have had whatever entry that got him in, even if it was a big gamble. But if he just had the damn David Ricardo 1700s stop loss in place, said in another way for the modern age, the programmer's thinking, the optimal stopping point, if he just had a stop, he never goes down 96%. And that's why Jerry says he should have studied trend following. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.